Working to restore an old photo can obviously involve quite a bit of time and effort, but fortunately it tends to be a labor of love. But when that process is finished, you want to make sure that all of your work is preserved. And I highly recommend preserving literally all of the work you've done. In other words, if you've taken a non-destructive approach, creating a variety of layers in order to apply that cleanup effect to improve the appearance of the photo, you should retain those layers so that you can come back later and fine-tune anything that you feel is less than perfect. Naturally, you should be saving your work as you go, but you definitely want to make sure that the final result is saved with all layers intact. If you're working with a non-layered version of the image in a file format that does not support layers, the first time you save an image when you've added some layers, you'll get the Save As dialog by default. If the original is in a format that supports layers, such as TIFF, then you won't get that Save As dialog. But regardless, if you want to be certain that you have a version of the image with all layers intact, you can use the Save As command. I'll go ahead and choose File, Save As from the menu in order to bring up the Save As dialog. I can then specify which folder I'd like to save the image in, navigating to a different folder as needed, or simply sticking with the existing folder if I want to save the finished image in the same location as the original, for example. I can then also specify a name for the image. I'll just go ahead and add final to the end of the name of the file here in this case to distinguish the final version from the original. I'll make sure that I've specified a file format that supports layers, and in the context of Photoshop, that means saving either as a Photoshop document or as a TIFF image. In this case, I've saved as a TIFF image. I'll go ahead and keep that option selected, and I'll make sure that the Layers checkbox is turned on, so that all layers will be retained as part of my TIFF image. I'm also going to turn on the Embed Color Profile option, so whichever color profile is embedded, either by the scanner or based on my working space in Photoshop, will be retained, and that will help ensure that when the image is opened later, the colors will appear accurate. I'll go ahead then and click the Save button, and because I chose to save as a TIFF image, the TIFF Options dialog will appear. I'll want to make sure that under Layer Compression I choose RLE. I don't want to discard layers because that would result in a flattened version of the image, and I want to retain all of my layers so that I can come back to them later as needed. But I do want to use Image Compression, and so I'll choose the LZW option. This is a lossless compression option, which means it will reduce the file size without causing any loss of detail or information within the image. The pixel order and byte order options you really don't have to worry about. Either setting is perfectly fine. It doesn't matter if you're on a Windows-based computer or Macintosh, for example. In all cases, you'll be able to open this image later on either platform. So with those options set, I'll go ahead and click OK, and now this image is saved with all of those layers intact. I now have all of the information I need so that I can come back later and refine any of my adjustments or corrections, and of course produce output from this master image.